I can't hear anything.
Morning, Birgit.
Talking. Hello. I was just waiting to see someone else. Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice you adapted to change. I'm so proud of you. I was like, the synchronicity of the fact that this is about adapting to change while you're adapting to change. Like, I had to have a moment of appreciation. You kind of manifested that this morning with your title. It made me smile. So thank you for your persistence.
Well, thank you guys for joining in. This is great. Are we everyone now? Let's see.
How many people is there now at the moment? Hey, Birgit, how many people?
Hi. Well, I can see 4 people.
Okay, because I don't know if I've got a whole screen of everyone here. I can see there's 6 people at the moment. Hi, anyway.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can just start talking, those of us who are here. You guys want to give me a short introduction of who you are? Because this is going to be a conversation, you know. So, and we're going to do Q's and A's in the end. And if you have any questions or any thoughts while we're proceeding, you can put them in the chat box. But I would really like to know who you guys are so you can get to know each other a little bit. Just like, what do you do and where do you live? Blue shirt start. Yes.
My name is Ellie Howe, and I live in Columbia, South Carolina, in the United States. And I am a lot of things, but I am Chief Marketing Officer at a company called Transfer Point Incorporated. We sell an immune modulator that more than doubles your baseline response. We are only a few weeks away from being NSF Sport certified, and we are thrilled to offer this level of immune support to our athletes. So thank you for this portal. That's why my shirt says my immune system is stronger than yours, because I'm blessed. So I'm a former professional athlete. I did roller derby for a number of years, and got diagnosed with chronic fatigue, and my life severely debilitated. And so I got introduced to this supplement, and I'm back in the saddle. And I'm grateful to be here. So thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you, Ellie. Thank you. Okay, Tanya, you want to go?
Sure. Well, thank you very much for having us. I think it's a great opportunity for all of us. I am Tania Vega. I am from Mexico. I live in Mexico City, and well, I am a sports lover, sports passionate. I was a volunteer in the Olympic Games of Rio 2016, and also in the World Cup of 2018 in Russia. And right now, yes, it's amazing, right? It was a very, very great experience, and well, right now I'm working with my dad in our family business. I am the digital marketing manager, but I've always been in love with sports, and I would like to, to get involved more with this passion of mine.
Cool. Nice to have you here. Katharina, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity meeting you. Actually, I'm very happy to be here. I'm living in Berlin and joining as well today from Berlin, Germany. I am an organizational coach, so to say. I'm a couple therapist as well, and so I bring interventions out of therapy to workplaces to make relationships better. That's my mission, yeah. So I founded 2 startups here in Berlin before, and now I'm doing that on my own with my team, so to say. Yeah.
Oh wow!
So it's a very nice topic. Love the headline. So I'm very interested to hear all of you.
Cool. And I don't have all the unique answers to everything, so I guess there's a lot of things that you guys will know more than me or have different perspectives than me. So if there's anything where you can see, oh yeah, I know something about this, or I have a thought about this, or actually I have an experience about this, please write it in the chat or take it up when we have the Q's and A's in the end. That would be great. I truly believe in telling each other stories, because then we don't have to do all the mistakes ourselves and we can learn some smart things. Lily?
Hi guys, so glad to be here. I'm from New York City and I grew up loving sports. I skated for like 10, 15 years and grew up watching especially ice skating at the Olympics. Love the winter sports and and then also did a lot of running a little bit later in life as well. I'm glad to be here.
Cool. And you're currently in Hawaii?
New York.
Just looking at your background.
Yes, on the beach.
Nice. All right, Bodo, am I saying it right? I can't hear you. Perfect. Bodo, is that right?
Tell them to hit the unmute at the bottom of the screen.
Ah, perfect. Yes, totally missed that. Hi, I'm Bodo. I'm currently living in Goa in India. It's fairly late here. I'm here because I just like people who do interesting things. Actually, it's not even interesting things. I like people who love what they do and spend their life in pursuit of it. And constantly trying to better themselves. So I'm really happy to be a part of this conversation.
Cool. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Alex? You're muted, I think.
Yeah, just unmuted. Pleasure to meet you, Birgit, and the rest of you. So lovely to see so many people from around the world here. So I'm Alec. I live in London. So I was born and bred in London, and actually I'm good friends with Bodo. And really excited about hearing about people's journeys when they've got real passions for what they do, especially in the sports world. So yeah, excited to hear more.
Cool. Well, thank you. And Siyin, am I saying that right?
Yeah, Suyin. Hey, Birgit, how are you? That's good. It's great to be here. Actually, I was very inspired by your story. I'm actually having a bit of difficulty with the lighting in my room at the moment, so that's why my video looks really weird. But yeah, I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I was also very inspired to hear Ellie just then talk about chronic fatigue, because I actually suffer from chronic fatigue myself. I'm an athlete and I suffer from chronic fatigue. Can you believe that? I don't know how, I mean, I suppose, everyone's different. And yeah, I've had this for a long time, but I've been training now. My discipline is athletics. I've been training now for the past 7 years. And actually, before I started training, my chronic fatigue was much, much worse. I was bedridden for a lot of the time. And then when I started training, the chronic fatigue, 65 to 70% went out the window completely. So yeah, I was just very inspired, Birgit, by your story, and because of your experiences in many different ways. And I just wanted to get some insights from you as well, and to hear about how you pulled through your very, very difficult and challenging past with your injuries and so forth. So I'm really, yeah, I'm really glad to be able to hear what you have to say and what you have to share.
Cool. And Ryan?
Hello, everyone. I'm Ryan. I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I am the CEO of a small company in the world of rowing, and I'm glad to be here.
It's good to have you here. I think it's really cool that we're so spread out around the world. This is quite amazing. I'm actually at the west coast of Norway right now because we have 1 week of alternative training where we can be somewhere else than at the national arena. So this week I'm kayaking in the fjords and biking in the mountains and just doing things, well, being around doing different things than we usually are. If anyone told me in February I was gonna go kayaking in the fjords in July, I would say you're crazy. But here we are in the middle of something which is quite a big change, I think, for everyone, which makes this even more interesting to talk about, actually. Before we start, is there anything specific? Some of you mentioned that you wanted to hear about how to get through, you know, the injury and all that, and standing and change. Is there anything else that you would like to say already now that you want me to touch by? This is the time to speak. I truly believe that, you know, all of us, you know, we can affect what we get out of things by asking questions or kind of leading into what we need to hear or what we think is interesting. And being so few people together speaking so closely, we really have the ability to make sure that everyone gets what they want from this. Yes?
So yeah, and I think you'll probably already speak to this already, but just being a veteran of adversity from overcoming illness and injuries, what the catalyst is. Like, clearly there's a lot of drivers when you have to biohack yourself beyond your circumstances and to catapult yourself into where you intend to be as opposed to where you are in your now. But like, I'm sure you have many tools, as I know probably a lot of us do, but like your number one that just is like, you know, you're going to approach with this mindset or this fervor, whatever that is, to let you step from being a veteran of adversity into resiliency. I would love to hear that share.
Resiliency is a really interesting subject. I've read quite a few articles about, you know, how resilience is one of the definite biggest traits with Olympic gold medalists. And I think that is really true because there is no straight road forward. No one gives you a gold medal. There's ups and downs and hairs and theirs, and you need to stand through it in a way. So that is really cool. All right, are you guys ready? Yeah, great. Okay, so this is going on YouTube, as you know. Hi, everyone on YouTube. It's nice to have you follow us. You can ask questions, those of you who are in the Zoom chat. Please do, either in the chat box or raise your hand, or in the end, we'll do a discussion. This is going to be for an hour, and I totally understand if any one of you have to go before, you're free to, but we're going to be going on for an hour. And I'm glad to see all of you having your cameras on. I think that's really cool. Thank you for that already. And then I think we're set. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with telling my perspective, where I come from, like what's my story into all this. And it starts here. I'm sorry for all the blue dots, but it's for not showing the children's faces, because this picture is with me and quite a few children that I got to know at a really young age. After high school in Norway, it's quite common that you go and do something else for a year. And I decided to go to Thailand and work with kids in an orphanage. So at the age of 19, I became the spare mother of 16 kids, which was quite an amazing experience. It was very different from what I was used to at home. This is from the orphanage, this picture. As you can see, we're all staying in this floor, and it's rainy season, which means it's raining quite a lot all the time. And it was, I think, one of the things that made a biggest impression on me was how able these kids were to enjoy life, you know, and how much cheeriousness. As one day they came home. Okay, I'm not kidding you. They came home and they were so proud because they had fetched a rat. And the rat was, you know, with no tail, it was this big. It was huge. And they came with it over their shoulder and showed me this rat that they had gotten, you know, and I was like, oh, wow, that's great. And we even had to cook it. And I thought it was quite cool, you know, and I got the front teeth on my piece. And that's when I realized, you know, I'm pretty far away from home right now. It's not a common dish in Norway. But it was quite an amazing experience. And while I was there, I had to go out of the country because I needed a new visa. So I went down to Malaysia to get that visa. And one day in Malaysia, I met these Swedish backpackers, and we decided to go swimming. So we found a little place, which was quite nice. You know, it was by the water, by the ocean. And it was one of these like stone fences. It was very small. I was very like maybe 1 or 1.5 meters from the wall and down to the ocean. So we decided we're gonna jump. And one of the Swedes, he ran in front of me and ran towards the fence and jumped down in the water, and he was totally fine. And I came after, and I ran and I jumped on the fence and jumped into the water, and totally good. But when I was gonna get up again, I stood up in the water and I couldn't really find my balance. I was like, the water was pushing me back and forwards, and I was like, am I standing on something which is not really concrete, or what is it, only sand under my legs? What's going on? So I looked down and I see my right foot is kind of finding its balance, while the left foot was gone. There wasn't any foot there. I could only see my leg bone really coming out from my leg, and it was blood everywhere. So I yelled up to the guys and I said, okay, guys, I think I broke my leg. And they're like, yeah, right, you did. I was like, no, actually, I'm really sure I broke my leg. And they came in to the water, 5 people, 1 taking an arm each and a foot each. And then a guy in the end and took my foot, because it turned out I actually tore my foot off. I was lucky though, I've learned later, because there's 3 big blood vessels into the foot. I tore off 2 of them, but the last one that goes down to my toes, that was still intact. So I could see the big leg bone going out one direction, and I could see the small leg bone going out the other, and the foot was like totally torn off, but it was like a tiny, sorry guys, it was a tiny skin part that was still stuck. So the foot was still stuck on my leg. And you know this feeling when you have, when you have your nails, right? And there's like a piece of flesh on your nail, and you can feel it kind of tearing a little bit. It was that, but doesn't really hurt. It just tears a little bit. That was the feeling in my whole leg. I could feel it was there. It didn't hurt at all, but I could feel it tearing a little bit. So we came out and I figured, okay, I don't know anything. I don't live in Malaysia. I don't know anything about Malaysia. The only thing I could think of was this commercial that's been in Norwegian television with a guy abroad getting injured, going into a surgery room, and the doctor looking over him and saying, left leg? And the guy says, oh, right. And the doctor says, oh, right leg, okay. And it goes black. So I'm lying there and I'm thinking, okay, I got to figure out what's going on. And after a while, the ambulance people comes. So I ask them, a little bit casually, what do you have to do to work in an ambulance in Malaysia, huh? Any education? And they say, well, no education, we're volunteers. And that's when this picture is taken. This is in the ambulance as they're taking me in, and I'm going like, this is great. I gotta pay attention. The body is quite amazing, isn't it? It didn't hurt at all. I saw my foot being ripped off and I didn't feel it at all. I came to hospital. Long story short, this could be a session by itself, but long story short, it was quite an amazing experience. Actually, it was if you try to call my mom, I was 19, try to call my mom, which was in a totally different time zone. She thought it was the alarm clock, so she'd only turn off her phone. And we couldn't get a hold of her. And they told me, we might do surgery tomorrow. But we may actually managed to get the foot back on. I was flown back to Norway, where I was in hospital for quite a long time. Have any of you guys seen this before? No? None of you? Isn't this quite amazing? This is the kind of things I can use to, if you have a foot that's ripped off, you can't obviously use a cast because there's a lot of big wounds in there. So they actually do this to put the foot back on to make it grow together. This is really, really cool. And as you see, we pimped it with pearls to make it look a little nicer. It's not like the normal accessories 19-year-olds go with. But what happened was that it turned out I brought a little gift from Malaysia. I brought a bacteria, and this bacteria was a flesh-eating bacteria that usually lives off dead fish. And this bacteria started eating me from the inside. And every day when I looked under the bandages, a little bit more of my foot was actually coming out, which was quite crazy. And because this was a really foreign bacteria, we didn't know anything about it. And in the databases, it was only one case in the whole world that was registered before me. And that was an 89-year-old guy in Italy. So I can still remember the doctor in the hospital in Norway coming into my room with like stars in his eyes saying, "We've never ever seen this before. We don't have any experience with this bacteria. We're actually going to develop totally new antibiotics just for this." I was like, oh, that's so cool. This is great. I love it. But it turned out to be 10 months in hospital. And after quite a lot of trying and failing with antibiotics, we figured it out. And the foot was back on. They did some amazing things. I have such great respect for doctors. They actually took, because I lost a lot of my leg because of the bacteria, they had to find some skin from my thigh. So 2 times they collected skin from my thigh and moved it down to my foot. They got my hip bone from my hip, taking it down to the foot to fill in where the bacteria had been eating. And they even tossed around on muscles, taking out cutting off muscles and moving them around. So they were having a good time with my foot. But I worked it out. I actually started walking again. This is with me and my siblings. I decided to start university. I was going to study political science in the University of Oslo. So I was getting, I was pretty much well. I had 5 days without the metal thing on my foot. And was just going to have the last surgery. This picture we took right before I moved to Oslo because we were going to give it to our parents for Christmas. Mostly because me and my brother, we were having braces. So we wanted to take the picture before. And because we were thinking that just the way we're right now, we're never going to be again. My brother, he was 14. My sister was 18 and I was 20. And I was really happy. It was a long turn with that bacteria. We didn't know if I was going to make it. And it was a quite rough run. And I was so happy to be back, getting back into my normal life. And then I was going to have the last surgery. It was going to be a non-complicated surgery at all. We are going to move a little bit of leg bone from my hip, my right hip, and down into my left foot, just because it was a little bit weak, still the bone in my left foot. And so that it wouldn't hurt too much, I was given an epidural. You guys know what an epidural is? Yeah? Most of you are nodding. You can get it if you have a surgery in one of your feet, or if you're giving birth, so it doesn't hurt as much. So I got an epidural, and when I woke up after the surgery, I couldn't use my legs. But they said, well, this is normal, it happens. It happens once a while, that it takes a couple of hours before you get it back. And a couple of hours went by. And they said, well, there might actually be a couple of days until you get it back again. And it went a couple of days. And then they said, well, actually, there might be a couple of weeks. And I think what I remember the most from it is when the physiotherapist came into my room. And I was lying in the bed. And she came up to my bed and she looked down at me and she said, can you lift your right leg? If I ask you guys to do that, can you lift your right leg? Try to do it. Can you explain to me how you do it? None of you? Try hard. Lift your right leg and explain to me. Yeah, I see you guys are doing it. How'd you do it?
You just do it.
You just do it, right? You just do it. And she asked me, can you lift your right leg? And I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what to tell my leg to do because it just didn't move. And she said, okay, can you lift your left leg? And I looked at the left leg and it just didn't move. And that was when I realized if she's asking me to lift my legs, she's expecting that I should be able to do it. Something is wrong. And they then said, well, it might actually, well, a couple of weeks passed by. And it didn't get anything back. What I did get though was the swine flu. You guys remember that? Yeah, I was one of the first people in Norway that caught the swine flu. that was like 2 weeks after I was paralyzed. And I was having a hard time breathing. And it was so painful. And I couldn't use my legs. And I remember that I was thinking, now actually I think it's gonna only get better. I really think this is only gonna get better. But after a while, they moved me over to a rehab hospital. But I was 6 weeks in hospital before, and in that time, I got a lot of visitors, right? I had my family, I had my friends, people coming by, the doctors, the nurses, everyone checking in on me, and everyone were talking about these feet that didn't work. You know, everyone came into my room. You know this, when you're sick, you're coming in and people are asking you, how are you doing? Well, they came into my room saying, well, how are your legs? Well, what about your legs? What are you going to do with your legs? What are you thinking about your legs? Anything happened with your legs? And after a while, I got really tired of it. So I wrote a list, this list. And I put it over my bed for all my people, all my friends and family and the nurses and doctors and everyone who went by to see. It's in Norwegian, but I'll translate it for you. It says, I am lucky to have 2 healthy eyes, 2 whole fingers. I can hear well. I have 2 strong arms. I can smell and I can taste. I can talk. I have the ability to process physical and mentally, emotionally, emotions and feelings. I have a good mental health. I have a clear thought, strong upper body. I have lots of will. And I have a body which doesn't have cancer and doesn't have a lot of other different diseases, which I'm listing up. A great family. I have good friends, a great network, really helpful and nice nurses. I have a great country as my base. I have lots of opportunities and education going, and lots and lots and lots more. So be grateful for everything and stop whining. And right over my bed, every time I was going in and out of bed, I could see that list, because that was difficult. A couple of times, so actually, I forgot that I was paralyzed. I wasn't used to it, right? I've been walking for 20 years. I fell out of the bed because I thought I could walk. And I suddenly realized, no, I can't. And every time I was going in and out of the bed, it was quite a big struggle to get, this feet moving. And I was quite weak. I've been sick for a long time. And getting back to my bed and seeing that list of everything I had reminded me that you're more than those legs, you can do more. And having that list also reminded my friends and my family that I'm still me. I still have lots of resources that are not in my legs and that are still there. And later I've learned in sports, right? If you do a bad race, you're not necessarily a bad athlete. You just did some mistakes, right? You still all have your strengths. So I figured, okay, how to deal with this. As I told you, right? They were saying, maybe a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months. We'll see. Probably you're going to get better. But I figured that, well, I only know one thing for sure. And that is, as of now, I cannot walk. And I figured, okay, there's 3 options here. One of them is that A, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna get better. And this is just gonna be a faint memory in a while. Second option is that I'm gonna get better, but I'm not gonna get well. So I'm gonna be a bad walker. Maybe I'm gonna have to use crutches. Maybe I'm gonna have to be in a wheelchair when I'm quite young. And the third and last option is, this is it. I'm not getting any better. It's an injury, right? So probably it's not gonna get worse, but this is how I'm gonna be for the rest of my life. And I figured, okay, I'm gonna prepare for the worst. Because if you prepare for the worst and something better happens, then it's a bonus, right? Well, if you prepare for the best option and it doesn't happen, you risk to lose quite a bit of time adapting to it. So I figured, all right, I'm gonna start preparing for this. This is it. And I figured, okay, what do I do? If this is it, this is my life from now. How do I deal with it? Okay, number one, I'm 20 years old. Life expectancy in Norway is 84 years, which means I have 64 years in a wheelchair before me. How do I deal with that? I gotta be strong. I gotta be really strong, because if I want to live with the freedom that I want, I need to make the most out of what I have. I need to make sure that my arms can carry my body for the rest of my life. I need to train. And next is that I need to be able to use that wheelchair in a nice way. I can't think of it as my enemy, like the wheelchair I didn't want or the life I didn't want. I need to think about the wheelchair as my best friend, my life companion, actually, and play with it and have a positive attitude to it. Right here, I'm just trying to learn how to run a wheelchair backwards. It's totally useless. You can't use it for everything. It was just to figure out if I could do it. I also tried, when I was in hospital, I tried to figure out if I could still be a burglar by breaking in. So I would, climb in the windows and take the chair after me and put it in and go out again. They thought I was totally mental because I was only coming out of the building. And they're like, where the heck are you coming in? It was just to see if I could do it, play with it. I broke 8 bones in 1.5 years just by reaching the limits of my abilities and falling down from things. Because I figured, if I don't know where the border is, I can't go right up into it. I think the worst time actually was when I broke my arm. And I was in a cast for 6 weeks with my arm like this. And we have this picture from the hospital where I'm seeing like this. This is great. But what I really learned breaking my arm was that I'm so lucky to have 2 healthy arms and 10 fingers to use for everything, right? When I got the cast off, I felt so free. And I'm not trying not to break my arm again. And then trying to figure out how to get around in life with the wheelchair, because life is not adapted. The world is not adapted. So I figured, I need to figure out the basic skills so I can, for example, get downstairs, because often there is no ramp. I need to get downstairs. I need to get on the metro. I need to get off the bus. I need to figure out how to navigate. Yeah, same thing in the escalator. You lean in. And one of the things I also learned was that this is really strange actually, because usually I'm 180, 5'10", tall. I'm quite tall. I'm a big woman. I'm actually bigger than the normal man. And I was used to, raging quite high when we were groups of people, and suddenly I was much smaller. So what happened was that people started petting my head. When I was for a walk, people would come and they would pet my head. And, especially old ladies actually would come up to me and they would go like this with my cheek. And they would be like, "Oh, you're so good. Are you out on the trip by yourself?" And I'd be like, "Well, I'm 22 on my way to the university, actually." But people would, they would treat me a little bit differently. And if I was in a store, they would say, if I was there with a friend, they would talk to my friend and they'd be like, "What does she want?" And I would be like, "I would really like to have a pair of pants." And they would be like, "Okay, which color does she want?" And I'd be like, "I would like them to be blue, please." And they'd be like, "Well, what size does she want?" I'd be like, "Hello, I'm here." And when I was in the metro one day, I was going up a ramp. When you're in a wheelchair and you want to go up where some it's quite steep, as you can see from this wheelchair, it's one of those kind that goes backwards. If you go too much to the back, you fall on your back. So you got to tilt it and you have to weight your balance quite correctly. So when you're going up a hill, you need to lean forwards to tilt your balance forwards, right? So I was going up this hill in the metro. I was having a quite heavy backpack on my shoulders. So I was leaning forward even more because of the heavy backpack and going up. And I see this guy coming on the side of me, and he goes in front of me and he turns his face to me and kind of go backwards up that hill, right? And he says, "Hiya, hiya, hiya. Yeah, you can do it. You can do it." And I was like, "Oh, I'm a little embarrassed, actually. I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for cheering for me. That was great. Everyday hero. Thank you. Thank you." Not making a fuss. Getting up and then going back down again. And that's in this escalator. Because the same thing is in the escalator. You need to lean forwards because you don't want your weight to go backwards because then you fall down. So you lean forwards and you hold on each side, right? And with escalators, sometimes they don't necessarily go the same speed, right? So to make sure you're actually holding the right speed and so that if one of them starts taking off, you can move your arm, you clinch a little bit. And this guy was coming up. While I was going down, this guy was coming up. And we met each other in some kind of a movie moment in the middle there. And he looked at me and he goes, "Wow, strong muscles. Thumbs up, great job." And he moved on. And these two guys, they just tried to tell me the same, right? They both tried to tell me, "You're doing good. I see you. I see what you're doing there. I'm cheering for you." But one of them were talking to me like I was a little kid, and the other one like I was an equal. So what I also learned quite fast was that people were going to look at me in a different way. But usually they mean well. They don't mean to do anything wrong. But it's up to me to actually take it in and accept it in a nice way. And also learning, how I wanted to be seen. And not actually necessarily listen to what everyone else was thinking about me, but actually thinking myself, what do I want to be? Who am I? What can I do? If they don't believe in me, I can still believe in me. I know that you don't need to cheer for me to go down an escalator. I can do that, And I was struggling putting my pants on. Can you imagine, guys, if you're sitting where you're sitting right now, and I told you, can you take your pants off and take your pants on again? Sitting, feet off ground. How'd you do that? It's a challenge. Tonight, when you're going to bed, you can do it. It's difficult. It is really difficult. So while I, on the one side, could do lots more than some people were thinking about me, on the other side, things that used to be really basic, like putting my pants on, I had to learn to do again, like all new when I was 20. So I needed to kind of decide for myself what I could do and what I wanted to learn. And here, and then I needed to get back into life. Actually, I would say I was quite lucky because I, in the age of 20, had the opportunity to actually really look into what makes me happy in life. I'm just gonna move a little bit so you don't get this annoying light on my face. Here, does that work? Yeah. Because not being able to walk and getting that kind of a change and getting back into life again really made me think through, what is it important that I have in my life to be happy? And I figured, okay, one thing is my friends and family. I really need my friends and family in my life to be happy. Second thing is I need some kind of a meaning. I need to do something that I feel is has a point and makes a difference to me or someone else. And the last thing is that I need to be out in nature. That was mine 3. Actually, I've been thinking a lot about it now in Corona. What do we need to be happy? I think it's the same. I need to have my friends and family. I need to have some meaningful activities in my life, and I need to be out in nature. And then I was thinking through, okay, well, do I need legs for any of these? I don't. There's absolutely all opportunities here to get back in life with all the things that matters the most to me with this new condition. So I used to be skiing when I was younger with my family, and all my friends and family were still skiing quite a bit. So I figured, okay, I need to learn to ski. And the good thing about sports is, well, you can't ski with your legs. Well, then you ski with your arms. Go for it. It's that easy. This is 6 months after the injury when I did my first ski race. It was tough. And used a lot of humor. This I got from my friends. It's actually, you can see I'm still in hospital. My friends are saying, well, Norway is not, that my t-shirt is in Norwegian and it says, Norway is not made to sit on your ass. I got it from my friends. And they're right. Norway isn't made to sit on your ass. And you gotta go figure it out. And having humor about it actually made it easier to talk about things and talk about those things that were difficult. A year and a half into the injury, I decided to sign up for a TV show in Norway, which is called Beyond Boundaries. Does any of you guys know this concept from before? Beyond Boundaries? It's also been in Britain, I know. It's some years ago. The concept was 11 people with different kind of disabilities. We were taken to the border of Sweden, and we had to go 600 kilometers into Norwegian nature and climb a mountain together with no help. So we were out for 30 days, and we didn't have any contact with the world around us, and they made a TV documentary out of it. This is from climbing the mountain. As you can see, I climbed it on my butt, dragging my feet after me. And these days we were going on from 6 hours to 16 hours a day. And out of the 30 days we were out there, it was raining for 28 of them. So it was cold and freezing. And I met the biggest challenge of the change in life that I've gotten. And the biggest challenge was actually on the mental part of it. And we learned how to work together, challenging them. This is actually one of the pictures from the woman that I was sleeping in a tent with. It was her arm because we had to talk about our weaknesses, because suddenly, you know, it was called Beyond Boundaries, but I totally felt it was full of boundaries because there were so many things that I couldn't do. And it was the first summer I was out of hospital, so I'd never been in the mountains again after the injury. So there was so many things that I felt I couldn't do like before. So it was all about acknowledging boundaries, I'd say. Well, one of the girls, she didn't have an arm, so she would take her arm off and it would be the helping hand that would be poking really creepy around on people. But we made us talk about the helping hand and talk about the weaknesses and the strengths. But can you guys imagine when you're going on a trip like that, what do you think is the most important to do well on a trip when you're 11 people with disabilities going 30 days into nature? Who do you think was best prepared? What abilities did they have?
Are you asking?
Yeah, I'm asking you. What do you think?
I really think
what do you think is most important?
Belief, because belief is a powerful thing. Belief can convince you of anything. My perception creates my reality. and your perception and your belief and your overcoming was catalyzed from such a beautiful space. Like, there's no excuses at this point for any of us in any capacity whatsoever. Like, you're just such an inspiration. So yeah, belief for sure for me.
You can do a lot with belief. That is right, but that wasn't the most important one.
I think it's the collaboration. I think more importantly is the collaboration between everyone in the group. Yeah, the solidarity, the support that everyone gives everyone.
Yeah, that is true. It's the collaboration and the acknowledging of your strength and your weaknesses. I thought when I came into it, the people with the best physical abilities will be the most fit to do it, but it wasn't at all. It was those who were the best teammates. They were the best to do it. And those who were the best to acknowledge their weaknesses and the best to acknowledge their strengths. That was why this helping hand was so important, to help us remind us that acknowledging weakness was actually really important, because then if we talked about it, someone else could come in and help us, and that would make the group move faster and better. And the things we were good at, we needed to help someone else with. So if we were talking about that too, everyone else knew which resources we could pull out. And I was having a really hard time about this, because I felt, this is my legs, you see, quite tiny and full of scars. That was what I felt like in the beginning, at least, when I was up there in the mountains. I felt like I was heavy. I felt like I couldn't carry. I was used to always taking an extra backpack. Suddenly I couldn't. Suddenly someone had to help me transport myself, right? And it really, this is also a picture from that trip when I decided I was going to walk for myself. And that didn't work out very well. And this is actually how it was for me when I got out of hospital. I decided, okay, I need to figure out this life. You know, I can't, I need to figure out how to live my life again in a different way. And how can I be me when I cannot anymore do the things that I used to do the way I used to do them? How do I do it now? So I moved in to an apartment, which was not in any way made for a person in a wheelchair. And I decided I was not going to live with anyone, because then I could be tempted to ask for help. And I didn't want to ask for help. So I didn't want to put myself in that situation. And I didn't want to have a car, because no one else in my age had a car. So I was going to take the metro. So I couldn't get into the bathroom because the door was too narrow. So I was crawling around on my butt in the bathroom. And I didn't look myself in the mirror because I was high up on the wall, right? And I had to shower. I was climbing up to this little thingy that I could sit on. And going to the university every day, it was snowy. I moved there in January, and that's a lot of snow in that area of city. And I couldn't get the wheelchair through the snow. So what I did, I bought survival suit, and I crawled, and I dragged the wheelchair after me. And I listened to podcasts while doing it. And I would never make it to the first metro. They came every 20 minutes, but I would always make it to the second. Usually I would use half an hour to get up there. And I was living in a student village, so there were students everywhere, and students were walking by me on their way to the metro, and people would ask, do you need any help? And I'd be like, does it look like I need any help? No, I'm fine. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm doing great. This is super. This is my training. And I would totally believe in that. I totally had that belief. And in the end, one of my friends, she really took me and shook me hard, and she said, okay, listen to me. You're coming to school every day and you're tired. You're sick all the time. Both your arms are overused and hurt, and they're painful. You're not a resource to me as a friend, because you never have any energy to call me and ask me how I'm doing because you're so tired. You're not a resource to me in class because you're too tired and you're sick all the time. So you're actually falling asleep in school. Why don't you move downtown? Someone else live up there and you can come in and participate again in life. Thank you. And she was totally right, because I was trying to live my life like everyone else lived it. And I didn't miss the vital point that no one else lived their life like that. It was only me. because I was totally looking into what they were doing and not how they were doing it. And I didn't accept that even though I couldn't walk, I couldn't do things in the same way. I couldn't just pull through with my mind. I couldn't just say, well, this is going to be fine. If I just do this, I'm going to be fine. I had to acknowledge the effect that the change of situation had on my life and actually play along with it, not fight with it, but play along with it. So here I have a little backlash in this little show. When I figured out I could rather row, I was way better off. I was way better off. And then I felt more like that. I felt like I was a strong one that could actually contribute. And often when I think about other people, I think of them like this. You know, I think they're strong and great and do well. Well, I can feel like this, right? But none is just like this either. All of us is like that. We're like this bunch of traits, positive and negative, strengths and weaknesses. And by acknowledging what we're not good at and acknowledging what we can, then we can actually fit in to a bigger whole. And I later learned, actually, I asked, the production, why did you take me with you? You knew I was the totally weakest one physically. You knew that I would need to have help everywhere. And he looked at me, the producer, and he said, you didn't get it, huh? I was like, no, I didn't get it. It was just, I was just a burden. And he said, no, because you pushed them with your mind. Some of them might not have been able to reach it if you didn't push them in front of you and tell them they could do it. And that made me realize, okay, some things are really visible. Some things you can't see at all, right? And acknowledging that, playing along with that, made a huge difference. Accepting life, accepting what happens. I already decided that I can never, ever compare. I can never compare to what was. I can never compare to what should have been. And I can never compare to what if it didn't happen. Because as far as I know, that if I wasn't paralyzed that day, I could have been run over by a bus the day after and killed. I don't know. There is no relevant scenario to relate to. And then I'm going to show you a little bit sport pictures, because what I really like about sports is that it's looking into ability. And this is one of the first pictures of me rowing. My class in rowing is called Women, Arms and Shoulders. It's not called Women, No Legs. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're not using your legs, right? There's Women, Arms and Shoulders. That's what we're doing. And then we need to figure out how much can I do? So we started out with just a sliding seat. That didn't work, obviously. So we started strapping my legs. That worked, but my legs were flopping to the back sides. So we put in some cushions. And that was how we were going on until we found the position that I could actually use to find just the limit of where I could use everything I had and still, get rid of everything I didn't have so it didn't bother me. Performing in sports is about making the chance for success as big as possible, but it's also reducing the risk of failure, right? So you want to take away the bad traits and make what you have better. And my arms, my shoulders, my neck, my back, that's what I compete with. That's what I can make stronger. And that's where I can be the best. And in adaptive sports, we have different abilities, different injuries. You can't change your injury, but you can make sure, like, some people have a little bit more muscles than I have. Well, then I got to be better technically, right? I can't sit there and say, oh, they have more muscles than me. No, I got to go say, okay, then I'm going to be even better at the technique. I'm going to be smarter. I'm going to train smarter. I'm going to be more effective. I'm going to be better on the details. That's what I can do. That's what I can change. You're competitive. And it's even more important, actually, that you're really good at what you can when you can't control everything. And this is my team, well, part of it, my rowing team, and a training camp in Portugal. I learned so much from them. And I'd say they're also the kind of a team that I was in the mountains with. We were different. We are very different rowers. We are different. Well, actually, our team is male and female and heavyweight and lightweight and Olympic and Paralympic in one team. And we're a whole different bunch of people. always helping each other to get better because they're different than me. They have a different perspective, and I have a different perspective than them. And it helps me grow quite a lot. And every day, actually, you see this guy to the left here, the guy biking. We often row together on the water. We always have training sessions together on the water every day. And he often stops me and he say, hey, you should try this. You should try this. Because he's quite good technically, right? And he'd be like, try to take your stroke a little bit shorter, or try to do this, or try to do that. Have you tried that? And then he tries to do it himself, like with my technique. And he learned something too. And I think this way of working together, it's definitely the best to have a lot broader perspective on things. This is from 2013, World Championships in South Korea. Can you guys guess who is the guy in the middle? If I tell you, he plays a vital part in all the medals that's collected, both in this World Championships and also when the World Championships come in, and in the Olympics. Who do you think he can be? None?
Olaf Tufte.
Olaf Tufte! Olaf Tufte actually had a spare year this year, but you can see his boxers. Anyone else? None? You have no clue who this guy can be. He's a central player in the team. He's a central role in the team. Everyone needs him. He's not visible, not at all, from the outside.
The coach.
The coach, that's a good tip. That's a good tip. No, he's actually the physio. He's a really important key player for us. And no one from the outside knows what he does. They don't know how he does it. He don't know how much he is involved in every single medal that's taken in our team. He's never on the sports gala. He's not on the front pages. He's not on sports television. But it's really important that we see him, right? Because for us, he's one of the most important guys we have. So acknowledging your team, but also acknowledging all the secret helpers in your life and at the workplace and around you that helps you be the person you want to be, or helps you perform or do the work you need to do, but maybe not that get that recognized, right? He's really important. This is from the World Championships, not last fall, but the year before. And I have had some injuries, but it doesn't, when you're on the starting line, you can't look to your right and think, oh, she has better training conditions than me. Or look to the left and say, she has a little bit more muscle than I have. Or look further away and say, well, they have more money than I have. You can't do that. You got to stand there and think about everything that you have done, everything that you can do, all the abilities that you have. After a while in hospital, my mom came right after the injury. Maybe this was 3 months after the injury. And we had a talk with the doctors. I can still remember it really well. I was sitting in one part of the room with my mom, and two of the doctors were sitting with their white coats on the other side of the room. And my mom said, is Birgit ever going to walk again? And it was totally quiet, dead quiet in the room. And after a while, one of the doctors said, well, there's a lot of really exciting things going on with stem cells in China. And I was thinking, that's a no. That's a no. That's definitely a no, because I cannot cling to the hope of stem cells in China. This is what I got. And I think that's one of the things that we do in sports too, which is really, really important, is to know where we come from, know what is here and now, like totally honest. What do you got? And what is your goal? My goal was to get back into society, get back into my life, and later in sports, perform. and not only talking about the goal, but also lining out what do we have to do to get there and take the consequences of that goal. It was quite a few people, that would come over to me and say, oh, you're going to get fine, you're going to get well again, you're going to walk again, you're going to be totally all right. And I would always be like a little bit aggressive. I'd be like, oh, really? You think so? You think so? Because if you think so, you have more information than I do. Because what I think is that we don't know. So I can't cling to that kind of a hope. But if you have information that can give me that hope, please come forward with it. And people just wanted to support poor people thinking back on it. But you can't just say, well, if you're going to do this or you're going to go for that, you have to know how and why and actually put down a plan on how to do it. And I believe in being fair to yourself and being honest to yourself. This is actually the assistant coach. This is after World Championships this fall when we qualified for Tokyo. And this is my teammates to the left and my family to the right. To the left is on a training camp in Portugal in 2015. And to the right is in Rio, right after I got a 4th place in the Paralympics, which is maybe the worst place to get because you're like just missing out on the podium. And it was so much hard work behind it. But I think this actually sums up so much of life, that it's the people that you surround yourself with that actually help you in the ups and in the downs. And this is actually a bigger picture of what is the Olympics to us. It's not showing up. When people are telling me, oh, you think it's really, is it like a little irritating that there's no Olympics? You prepare all year for this. I'll be like, well, I prepared 8th year for this, actually. But it's all right, we'll do a 9th, that's fine. And lots of people prepared, 15 years for it. It's a lot longer than you might think, but that is also life. All ups and downs, and you got to be playful, right? This is my teammates. No, not my teammates. Could have been. It's my competitors. I don't compete against. I compete with. These are my competitors on the way up to the podium this fall. We're in it together, and I totally respect them. They're great people, great athletes, and they could beat me any day, and I would try to beat them with fair means. I'm going to sum up this now, and we're going to go into the Q's and A's. But this is a picture from Cambodia. I was working there with a hospital for spinal cord injured. And can you guys, do you know what's in the background there? Can you see? Yeah? What is it?
An outhouse or the shower?
The toilet?
Yeah.
A toilet, yeah. It's a toilet for people in wheelchair. It's different than a toilet, but in here you would usually squat, and we're really bad at squatting. So this is a better way of doing it. But at this hospital where I was at, people with my injury, they would usually live 9 months after the injury. And people with a higher injury, like neck injury, they would usually live 6 months. So one of the key outcomes from this, I want you to be the perspective of how lucky we are, how many things we have. I think Corona was like a wake-up call for me. Like, if you lose everything you have in a day, what would you miss the most to get back to? A lot of us got life turned upside down, and being appreciative of how much we actually have is quite important. And this is a picture just saying you don't need legs to fly. It's actually your task to define what you want to do, and if you can do it, and find the way to do it, and not let anyone else decide that for you. They had never jumped with anyone with no legs before. When you land, have any of you jumped like this? Yeah. Yes. How is the landing? What do you think about the landing?
You've got to put your feet in front like that.
Yes, you got to put your feet in front like that. And it's quite hard. It's like a bang.
Harder than you'd realize, actually.
Yes. So when I came and I wanted to jump, they said, well, we have never jumped with anyone with no legs before. We duct tape the legs. If you see them, you can see the duct tape. We figured if I just duct tape them enough, his legs will come first. And it worked, right? Usually you can find solutions to mostly anything if you just look for them. And you have to dare to fail. You have to dare to fail and break bones and rise up again, because that's what makes a difference. You got to concentrate on what you want to do, what you can do, what's smart to do, and how you're going to do it. And have fun. Have fun on the way. And cherish your team. This is the new family photo we took for my parents. I think this is a nice one too. We needed to update it a little bit. My brother, he's so good in a wheelchair. And this, I just wanted to share this picture with you. This picture is taken of me and a friend. This is the evening before I was paralyzed. It's the night before. I didn't know at that time, as you can see. I was young and wild and free and happy. And at the faculty, I was studying political science. The faculty had a party, a 90s party. And people were dressed up as Spice Girls and Backstreet Boys, and we're seeing Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears. And I didn't go because I was having a surgery the day after. So I wanted to be rested. And I was having an assignment that I needed to do. So I was sitting actually in the study hall the whole evening, all until the guards came and locked the door. I was sitting and writing on that assignment. When they came and locked the door, I just went downstairs just to say bye to my friends, since I was going to go into hospital for a couple of days. And that was when this picture was taken. And then I walked off. If I had known that I was not going to dance anymore with my legs, if I had known that that was the last night I had to go party and jumping on tables with my friends, would I have done it? Of course I would have. I would have danced my ass off. But I didn't know. And we can't know what tomorrow is. We can't know what's coming. I think that's a good thing. And I know that a saying is, prepare and live your life like every day was your last. I'm thinking, don't live your life like every day is your last, because you can't do that. You need to work for the long-term goals. You need to build the long-term relationships. You need to put the work in for tomorrow, because we got to believe there is a tomorrow. And I still believe you can make the most out of it today, because life is a really precious gift. Love is precious, and you can know your strength, you can know your weaknesses, and make the most out of what you have, where you are, to get where you want to be. As long as you are honest with yourself and work with your team. And of course, enjoy life on the way. That is really important. And yeah, this is the last picture. I'm not one of those people saying that everything is possible. It's only in your mind. You can do whatever you want to do. No, you can't. Of course you can't. But you can do quite a lot if you use your energy right. Think positive, and you're a good teammate. So thank you. I think I used almost your whole time. So okay. Does anyone have anything, a comment or a question or anything you want to share, maybe?
I'm trying not to be stingy with the time, but if nobody else is going to chime in.
You're good.
Yeah, I just thank you for that last share. My brother was murdered when he was 23, and we had made plans, the next day to go swimming at the pool. And the gift that he left in his transitioning is really to treasure like the now moment, right? Because truly now is all we have, and it really radically transformed my appreciation, for like literally each breath of life as it enters the lungs. So thank you for speaking to that. Thank you for your vulnerable and authentic shares. Thank you for Your radiance, you are so effervescent. Your shine is so magical, and your attitude is so beautiful. So just thank you for you and how you show up in the world.
Well, thank you for joining in and for sharing. I really appreciate that. That's tough. That was tough. Tough story. Anyone else have any final comments or thoughts?
No comments. I wanted to say thank you too. It's a lovely way to spend an evening and to listen to a story. I agree with her. You're very optimistic, very positive, and your story is one of strength. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And thank you for being a part. We had a relationship therapist, didn't we, here?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I was thinking, like, I also had several situations in my life where I was thinking, like, is this really like maybe a chance, a last chance? And then I really believe in my intuition. So I don't know what made you not going there. This is your story, your thoughts. You know why. And I'm totally believe that we have to somehow accept our decisions, and this makes us grateful. And I think this is what I feel when you speak. So I really believe what you say, and this is just powerful, and it makes that's even seeing through the screen, right? Your energy, and that you really believe what you went through. And I see a very strong personality, and I think you well know how to develop relationships, because you had to find a way, maybe in a different way than other people. And I'm very happy to see that you have established such a life that you wished for. So yeah, I'm very grateful to meet you here.
It was really nice having you here, and thank you for that share. That was really nice. And I think that nothing is promised in life, right? There's no one that gives you a book when you're born saying this is how it's going to be, and everything that turns out different is, well, this wasn't how it was going to be. Life is just sometimes difficult and different than you were prepared for or thinking or wanting. And there's many ways to happiness. And I believe, like you, that close relationships is one of them. And there's so many things we can't control. And using a lot of energy on that doesn't help us. Rather, using the energy on the things we can affect is better use of energy, and totally possible. But it's interesting. It is really interesting. And yeah, okay, I think we're rounding up. Any last comments?
Yeah. Thank you, Birgit, for sharing your story. I was very, very touched by what you have, told, like all the things you said, because there were in particular quite a lot of encouraging things about how no matter what circumstances you might be facing, you just really got to believe that the circumstances are not all there is to it, and that there's much more. It's like, it just really encouraged me, because the thing is, recently with my life circumstances, I had a few kind of what do you call it, resurgence of injuries I had a couple of years ago, and the last 2 weeks I've been in bed, basically bedridden with these injuries, and I've got to go and see the physio next week. And your encouragement was just really like, when you were talking about the importance of the relationship between your team and your physio, it's just really like particularly encouraged me to, because I know how important it is. I have not I have not been to see my physio since last year. I think I'm gonna need it because the past 2 weeks of not being able to engage in my normal training routine has really got me a bit down, because you just have to kind of like ride through it. But you really, really kind of inspired me to just look up and and continue on. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing. And I agree with you. It's very often there are some people in our lives that you almost don't notice everything that they do because they make things work, but they're really important. Anyways, Catherine, I didn't see you here earlier. Hello. I just want to say hi. You doing all right?
Hi, yeah, I'm good, thanks. Great to hear your story. Really just so inspiring, and thank you.
Thank you for listening in. All right, I think I used a lot of your time already, guys. So is there anything else before you rounds up?
Yeah, I got one question for you, Birgit. This is more a technical question. I got a couple of questions about, with hang on, I'll just go back to my notes because I made a couple of notes about, before when we were in the waiting room, about the resistance and tension in conventional rowing machines. Wondering, can that actually simulate the actual rowing experience well enough to derive similar conditioning benefits?
Hey, Ryan, maybe you want to answer this.
No, well, I don't want to, I have no idea. I would say the answer to that is actually no, unfortunately, because we have a saying in rowing that birds don't float.
Birds don't what? Sorry?
They don't float. They sink.
Oh, float. Okay. Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's just a different experience. To be on the water is very beautiful, as Birgit has shown, versus to be on the machine, which can be kind of masochistic. So
I suppose I was talking more in terms of the actual conditioning, like the actual physiological conditioning benefits that you could derive from it. Like, would there be any, like, in terms of building strength and capacity, or is that not really as kind of comparative?
Well, it is quite comparative. Absolutely. It's, we row a lot on ergs during winter, and you will definitely benefit on the water by training on the erg compared to training on the bike, for example. But training on the water is training for competing on the water. And it is that big of a difference that you would prefer going on the water if you have the option, by sure. But like in Corona, we had a lot of sessions on the erg. All of us, put up ergs in our living rooms and we're erging instead of rowing. So it depends on the surroundings too, right? If you have a boat, you can go on the water. If you don't, erging is it's good training. It's good alternative, and it's really good training for everyone. All right, guys, I think we're wrapping up. Thank you for joining in tonight. It was really nice seeing and talking to all of you. And it was great spending this in Norway. This is a Saturday night, beautiful Saturday night, hanging around with you guys. And feel free to send me a message on in the inbox. Most of us have already messaged a little bit. So if there's anything that you come up with later or think that, oh, shoot, I should have asked that question, send me a message. I'm here. And let me know, and suddenly, our roads will meet again. Really small.
Can we all unmute real quick and just give a collective thanks to this beautiful soul real quick, everybody? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
It was nice to meet you, Birgit. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye.